All right. So in prokaryotes, we have seen that gene expression occurs, and that gene expression is regulated by mechanisms called as operons. So we have seen lac operon, then we have seen tryptophan operon, then we have seen arabinose operon, then we have seen how there is lambda switch from a lysogenic cycle to a lytic cycle. Then at the end, we have also seen about ribo switches. All right. Gene regulation in eukaryotes is a bit complex. Most of it we have seen during our class of transcription, because 90% of gene regulation occurs at transcription only. So most of it will be reading about the transcription, gene regulation at the level of transcription, as well as mRNA inhibition by your inhibitory RNAs like miRNA and sirna. All right. So eukaryotic gene regulation, it occurs at the transcription level because of variation in chromatin structure. All right. Second one is the histone code, or PTMs, or post-translational modifications of histones. Third is methylation on CPG islands. Everything we have discussed, I'll just discuss in brief. Then what are the role of enhancers? This also we have read. And at the end, DNA binding motifs. DNA binding motifs. And non-transcriptional will be your RNA inhibition by microRNAs and small interfering RNAs, or NIRNAs and sirnas. Chalo, let's quickly look into chromatin structure. First thing is chromatin structure. Chromatin structure, if we do the GMSA staining, what are the two bands that you get, Prakash? Come on, speak up. Light bands, G banding करने पर क्या मिलता है? Light band and dark band. Yes. Light bands are called?
Sir, euchromatin.
Yes. Dark bands are called?
Heterochromatin.
Heterochromatins. Euchromatins are transcriptionally active. Yes, they are loosely bound. Transcriptionally active. Whereas dark bands, they are transcriptionally inactive. Okay, how do you convert a heterochromatin into a euchromatin? We use chromatin modifiers and modulators like SWI, SNF, CBP, P300, PCAF. All these are chromatin modifiers and modulators. अरे हमने पढ़ा था ना enhancers में, when vitamin D will come and bind to the enhancer, vitamin D response element, what happens? It will recruit chromatin modifiers and modulators. These will come and open the chromatin structure. When the chromatin structure is opened, RNA polymerase will get inside and it will transcribe the gene. Okay, so same thing here. Chromatin modifiers and modulators play a very important role in converting this chromatin structure. Now, light bands are euchromatin, dark bands are heterochromatin. These are different in differentiated cells. in differentiated cells, it may vary. Suppose muscles in euchromatin, collagen gene will be there. Your call A1 gene. Okay. Whereas in RBCs, hemoglobin gene or globin gene will be present in euchromatin, whereas globin gene will be in heterochromatin in muscles, and RBCs call A will be in heterochromatin. Heterochromatin here transcriptionally inactive. That is why RBCs cannot produce collagen, because it is transcriptionally inactive. Whereas muscles can produce collagen because it is present in an area which is transcriptionally active. So the chromatin structure, whether it is euchromatin or heterochromatin, will decide the expression of the gene, and that is how gene is regulated at chromatin structure level. Okay. Now, second one is the histone code. Second one is the histone code. Now, histone code we have read post-translational modifications for it to form euchromatin. What do we need? Which post-translational modifications do we need? Acetylation, methylation. Correct? For formation of heterochromatin, what you required? Deacetylation, demethylation, phosphorylation, sumoylation, monoubiquitination. All these modifications will form heterochromatin. These two modifications, acetylation and methylation, it will form euchromatin. This example I'll tell because this is the one which is most widely studied. Acetylation will occur on the amino terminal. Suppose this is the histone protein. Okay, one of the octamer of the histone protein. Now, this protein will have a carboxylic acid terminal and an amino acid terminal. Now, near this amino acid terminal, whatever lysine is there, these all are proteins, right? Phenylalanine, tyrosine, tryptophan, arginine, histidine, and all that. Now, near the amino terminal, whatever lysine is there, an acetyl group is attached to it. An acetyl group is attached to it, to the lysine here. Suppose near the amino terminal, there is a lysine present. To this lysine, an acetyl group is attached, that is called as acetylation. Now, what does this amine group impart? It imparts a positive charge on the amino terminal. With this positive charge, the histone molecule was binding with our DNA molecule. It was binding with our DNA molecule. Why? Because DNA phosphoric acid phosphate backbone is there, and this phosphate backbone has a negative charge. So this positive charge and negative charge, they were binding very nicely and happily. Now, when this acetyl group is attached, what it does is it will mask the positive charge of the amino group of lysine. It will mask this positive charge. When it masks this positive charge, what happens is the electrostatic bonds that were binding these two, this negative charge and this positive charge, are now lost. Okay, so there is no attraction between negative and positive now. Why? Because this positive charge is masked by this acetyl group. Okay, so histone will lose its affinity to DNA and it will get converted to euchromatin. What has happened? First, lysine, amino group, and phosphorus, negative charge of phosphorus group. This is phosphorus, sugar, and nitrogenous base. Okay, of the DNA. All right. Now these two were making a bond. These two were making a bond. In the next step, what we have done, we have attached an acetyl group to it. Acetylation by an enzyme, acetylase. All right. This enzyme has attached an acetyl group where it has attached to the lysine. This lysine is of histone protein. Histone proteins, lysine. Okay. Phosphoric acid of our DNA. Now, acetylation, when it has occurred, what happened to this lysine is this lysine amino group. Okay, this H will go, I think, and C double bond O CH3. What has happened is this positive charge is masked now. This positive charge is masked. So what happens is it will lose the affinity with the phosphoric acid. It will lose the affinity the phosphoric acid. This bond is gone. All right. So this acetylation, if you deacetylate, if you remove this, if you deacetylate it, what will happen? The positive charge will come back and it will form a bond again. So again, a heterochromatin will form from euchromatin. Okay. So that is how acetylation will help. Now, not all of these are 100% converting into euchromatin and 100% are converting into heterochromatin. Some methylation can form euchromatin. Some methylation on some other histone particles can cause heterochromatin also. There is an ambiguity in this. Okay, not 100%, but maximum times acetylation and methylation will cause euchromatin formation. Heterochromatin will form deacetylation, demethylation, phosphorylation, sumoylation. This will form heterochromatin. Okay, now this ambiguity in forming euchromatin and heterochromatin, it is written by coders, okay, or called molecules called as code writers. It's very complex. Histone protein K21, histone protein K21 will cause euchromatin formation. Methylation will cause euchromatin, whereas on 72 position, it will cause heterochromatin formation. So these changes, who is bringing these changes? This ambiguity is because of code writers. Code writers are proteins. These are proteins that catalyze histone modifications. When required. Code writers. So what these code writers will do? Okay, at this position, it needs to get the DNA needs to get converted to euchromatin. So it will change this histone. It will methylate this histone. Okay. Suppose it requires heterochromatin formation. So this protein, this code writer, what it will do is it will demethylate it. It will demethylate it. So methylation, demethylation, acetylation, deacetylation, sumoylation, all these at different histones on different histone octamers. Together, these are called as histone codes. Very, very complex and absolutely not required for you to remember that. Just remember that most of the time, acetylation and methylation will form euchromatin and deacetylation, demethylation will form heterochromatin. These changes on the histones, these histone modifications are done by separate proteins called code writers. These are the one which catalyze histone modifications. Next we have code readers. Code readers are the proteins that identify these changes. They are the ones which identify these changes or these modifications. And finally, there are code erasers. Code erasers. These proteins, they remove histone modifications. They remove histone modifications when required. Okay, they remove histone modifications when required. So histone code, basically histones, if they are tightly bound with the, this was an histone octamer. Okay, and our DNA was coiled around this for 1.75 terms. This we called it as nucleosome. This nucleosome was formed by interaction of this histone protein with this DNA. Okay, this histone and this DNA. This DNA has coiled around this protein. Now, this coiling around tightly is called as heterochromatin. When the gene is there, RNA polymerase cannot go here. So for the RNA polymerase to get here, what happens? This nucleosome should open. How will it open? By conversion to euchromatin. Who is converting it to euchromatin? Acetylation and methylation. How is acetylation converting? Here on the histone, the amino group on the lysine will form a bond with the DNA. This is removed, masked by acetylation. How it is masked? Acetyl group is attached to the terminal amino group. Okay, so when it attaches, what happens? The bond between the phosphorus group and the lysine group, it dissociates, and the association of the histone protein with the chromosome gets loosened, and it forms euchromatin. Okay, so exactly opposite happens in heterochromatin formation in deacetylation. Now there is considerable ambiguity where each histone has to get modified, which part of the octamer has to get modified, which histone in the chromosome has to get modified. All these are decided by histone code. Who writes this code? These are separate proteins called code writers. These are the ones which catalyze histone modifications. Code readers are the proteins that identify these modifications, and code erasers are the ones which remove the histone modifications when required. Third type is the epigenetics, or methylation on CpG islands. What are CpG islands? CpG islands, CpG islands. Suppose this is the DNA molecule. On this DNA molecule, we will have C. Suppose this is 5 prime, this is 3 prime. Okay. So 5 prime, P, G, P, C, P, G, then C, P, G, C, P, G. So in the DNA, there are places where only this C and G, only this C and G, C and G, C and G, these are present. Okay. So on this, cysteine will get methylated. Cysteine will get methylated. Okay. So when this cysteine gets methylated on the fifth position, methyl group on the fifth. Okay, fifth position. What happens is when this gets methylated, the gene near this becomes transcriptionally inactive. Becomes transcriptionally inactive. Suppose there is salivary gland. Okay, salivary gland. The DNA of salivary gland has gene for insulin, and let us say a gene for salivary amylase. Okay. Now, salivary gland, what it will secrete? It will secrete amylase. Will it secrete insulin? No, it will not secrete. Why is this gene present but still silent? It is because of this methylation of CpG islands around that gene. Whereas near the amylase, the CpG islands are free. That is why salivary amylase can be expressed. Whereas insulin cannot be expressed. Why? Because of this methylation that occurs. On the CpG islands. Now, when do you think this methylation will occur? Is it during cell differentiation? Before or after? When does it occur? It occurs before cell differentiation, before the cell divides into salivary glands, pancreas, okay, all those places. Now in pancreas, there will be no methylation of this. Insulin gene, whereas amylase, salivary amylase, CpG island methylation will be there. Okay, so this is how cells express genes differentially by epigenetics. Okay, now this we can use in treatment of many cancers wherein there is a excess protein expression, or when there is less protein expression. Suppose there is excess protein expression, suppose insulinoma is there. Okay, what you will do if there is insulinoma, a lot of insulin is being produced. What you do is you do an epigenetic modification wherein near the insulin gene you will methylate the CpG island. What happens when this methylation, this gene becomes dormant. Finish, closed, chapter closed. Okay, but that still needs a lot of research. Still research is going on. Simple to say, difficult to do. All right, so three things we have seen till now, which we have already read in transcription. One is the chromatin structure. This chromatin structure, light bands and dark bands, euchromatin, heterochromatin, we have seen. Then histone code, euchromatin is because of acetylation and methylation of histones. Heterochromatin is deacylation and demethylation. Now this methylation is on histones. Whereas this methylation is on the genes, okay, on DNA. This methylation is on DNA. It is not on histones. It is on DNA. All right. Next, quickly, let us look at the fourth one. Fourth one is enhancers. What are enhancers? Cis-acting elements. What are cis-acting elements? Cis means DNA or genes or whichever is nucleotide. Trans means, what does trans mean? Kshitij, Eldos. What are cis? What are trans? Okay, trans means proteins. Are we still connected?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Cis means DNA or genes. Trans means proteins. Suppose this is a DNA molecule. You have seen our cat box, Tata box. All these were cis or trans? Oh, Mone. Was it cis or trans? These are cis. To this, co-activators will come and bind. CTF, SWI, TF2D, All this, what are they? Cis or trans?
Trans.
These are trans molecules. Okay. So enhancers are cis acting elements. They have few properties. Those properties are they can act even if they are 1,000 bases away. They can act both upstream and downstream. Upstream, what is upstream? Upstream, suppose this is the transcription start site. Upstream of this or downstream, wherever the enhancer is present, even thousands of base pairs away, it can still affect the promoter region. Okay, it can still affect the promoter region. It can act in 3' and 5' direction. It can act in 3' as well as 5' direction. Okay, now let us look at an example of an enhancer. An example of an enhancer is INF1 gene mod regulation. INF1 gene regulation. What is INF1 gene regulation? Suppose this is human cell, mammalian cell, okay, human cell. To this cell, a coronavirus has come and attached. Okay, it has infected this cell. So what is the cell's immediate response? The cell's immediate response is it will produce interferons. It will produce interferons. These interferons will go and kill the virus by many methods. Okay, so this is interferon production is body's defense mechanism. Defense mechanism. Now let us see how this interferon production or how this interferon gene is regulated inside the mammalian cell by the interferon gene regulation model. Okay. So this is the DNA. On this DNA, there is interferon gene. Okay, let's say that the interferon gene is here. Interferon gene is here, and up to -110 to -45 base pairs is the enhancer. Is the enhancer for interferon. Okay, for this gene, this is the enhancer. Now this gene will be associated with its promoter region somewhere here. Promoter, proximal promoter element will be here. Okay, now this enhancer region has 4 distinct parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Enhancer region has 4 distinct parts. Let's say that this is RFD1, RFD2, 3, and NFD1. Those are just names. Okay, don't bother about it. Say part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. To these four parts, first a protein called as HMGI will come and bind. This HMGI is induced by viral DNA. When viral DNA comes inside the cell, it attacks the cell. Suppose there is another gene for HMGI gene. This viral DNA will affect this. This HMGI gene will produce HMGI protein. This HMGI protein, it will go and bind with the enhancer region. Up to 4 molecules of HMGI will bind to it. So what will happen when HMGI binds? It will curve the DNA. So what will happen is the DNA will now curve like this. DNA will curve like this in the enhancer region. Okay. This is your enhancer region. Enhancer region. All right. Why it has curve? Because 4 HMGI molecules have command bound to it. HMGI molecules have command bound to it. Now, once this HMGI molecule is formed, a curve is formed, 3 other proteins will come and bind to it. One is the IRF, interferon regulatory factor IRF. Okay, so it is like it has 2 molecules, IRF3 and IRF7. IRF3 and IRF7. IRF3 and IRF7. One was HMGI. Second, IRF3. Third protein that binds is nuclear factor kappa beta. Nuclear factor kappa beta. This nuclear factor kappa beta will bind something like this. NFKB, nuclear factor kappa beta. Okay. Then the third one is, sorry, the fourth one is ATF, is ATF2 or C June. These are again transcription factors only. So these will come and bind to this. Is ATF and C June. Now, once these proteins come and bind to the enhancer, and this DNA, it is forming a bulb-like structure. This bulb-like structure is called as enhantiosome. Okay, this enhantiosome will recruit chromatin modifiers. Chromatin modifiers. What are chromatin modifiers? SWI, CNF, and all those. So that will open the chromatin up, and the RNA polymerase will come and bind to it. Okay. So these are the 4 things. And in enhancers, you have to understand the concept of interferon regulation. Interferon regulation. Okay. Are we still connected?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So one last part is there, that is DNA binding domain. Can I get another 10 minutes? What is the time now?